Hey, what's going on, everyone? Can anyone hear me? Just doing a little mic check before I go ahead and start. All right. Seems just all right. Just give me one more second before I go ahead and start. I'm about to get this poll. See it. All right. Let's go ahead and get started, everyone. Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome back to the stream. My name is Max. And happy Friday, everyone. How's everyone doing? Let me know if anyone can hear me. How's the sound test? Hopefully it sounds good. Hopefully it's not having any issues. All right, I think you guys could probably hear me right now. Just make sure. Yeah, it looks good. Hey, what's going on, Dave? How's it going over there? Hey, Joseph. How's everything going? That's good. What's up, SD? How's it going? So I just did some updates to the OBS stream, so hopefully I can start pulling up you guys' name now, see if this going on. What's going on? Let's see. Joseph, how's everything going? Yeah, it look like everything is starting to work just like how it's supposed to. All right, that's good. Yeah, so I had to make some updates. I had to make some upgrades from the last stream. So now I think I got everything up and running like how it's supposed to. So that's good. Hi, Lisa. How's it going over there, Lisa B? I'm gonna go ahead and say hey to everyone over here. Oops, Lisa. Okay, how's it going? Yeah, now I got everything working like how it's supposed to work. Okay, hopefully no issues after this. But happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to the stream. Today we got some topics today. I'm going to talk about the latest reveal or details from LG Display, the 4000 nits. Also, we're going to be talking about Samsung, their 4000 nits QD-OLED. And then also we're going to be talking about a little bit more about HDMI 2.1, not 2.2, but 2.1. And then also we're going to talk about a little bit of TCL towards the end of the stream. But other than that, I did do a poll, so go ahead and take a look at that, and I'll go ahead and pull the poll up a little bit later, once more people are starting to come on through. But other than that, yeah, I had to show like a little bit of a video of LG and Samsung on this side. So if you can see my screen right now, and this is brought to you by Flat Panel HD. Took borrowed some of the little bit of the footage that they have right here. They did done such a great job. But what I want to go ahead and do is dive in more about LG and talk about their latest details and talk about the four stacks layer display that LG has going against Samsung display for the QD OLED for the S95F. So first things first, I think everyone can see the video right now. So you could kind of see a little bit of the side by side comparison on there. It's going to be doing a loop. So hopefully you guys could constantly see like the comparison between LG previous version. I think it's a G5. I'm not 100% sure, but oh, thank you. Oh, we got a little subscriber. I want to say thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Have to get a shout out as well too. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Um, yeah, look like we got some a lot. Oh, we got a lot more people in the chat. But yeah, we so I took a little bit of I took some video footage from Flat Panel HD, and they had a great side by side comparison with the LG with the new generation four stack panel that is going to be coming out this year for the G5, and then also it was comparing against, I think it's a G4 more likely. I think it was, And then also I had some footage too from Samsung S95F, and it's going against this previous generation, the S95D, which is pretty interesting. And this is something that I wanted to bring this topic up in the stream because CES is over with. We're starting to get a little bit more details about both what Samsung have cooking in the background and what LG has cooking in the background. And it seemed like there's been some tests been going on. Vincent from HDTV Test was able to test some of the details when it comes to brightness. Also, too, it seemed like some other creators and media outlets was able to measure some of the stuff that was coming from Samsung as well too. So I thought it would be a really, really good topic to kind of bring up in this stream because it seemed like a lot of people are talking about these TVs. It happens every single year, but it just seemed like they always battle between each other, Samsung and LG. And you got Samsung with the QD-OLED technology, and then you got LG with the OLED. So it's kind of like one of those type of things that we want to see who's going to come on top, who's going to be going against what, who's going to be each side. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just one of those little friendly competitions and stuff. It's just like a talk about in the stream and stuff. So we're going to talk about the good. We want to talk. Actually, there's a lot more pros than cons than anything else, and I want to see what everyone thinks about in the chat about LG's latest detail, and then also Samsung as well too. And yeah, it's just one of those things that we just need to go ahead and dive into a little bit more. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and get a shout out. Oh man, we got 30 people already. Man, it's crazy. Oh yeah, High Def, how's it going? Oh, how's everything going with you guys? Let's see, we got High Def in here. And let's see, man, we got a lot of people in here. SD over here already starting the conversation with the 4,000 nits. And so we're gonna go ahead and talk about that as well too. So what I'm about to go ahead and do first is I'm gonna bring up an article from Flat Panel HD, and then from there we could go ahead and talk about it a little bit more detail, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And then go ahead and transition. And I think everyone can see my screen. Let me know if you see something otherwise and stuff. But oh yeah, if anybody who's just joining the chat, join the stream, go ahead and hit that poll. Tell me what you guys think about LG 4000 nits or Samsung 4000 nits. Do you prefer it? Not? Don't care? Contrast is more better than anything else. So it's just, I thought it'd be something to be good for us to all talk about as well, as a group and stuff. So oh yeah, I just realized I have SD message still on here. But anyway, so what I'm looking at right now is an article from Flat Panel HD, and they talk about more of the fourth gen OLED with the 4000 nits improved and also improved color, which is pretty good. So right now, from what they measured, they said that the latest panel is going up when it comes to the fourth generation four stack panel is not the MLA that everybody been talking about. It says that they are able to achieve up to 4,000 nits, and that's a lot to do with the at a 3% window, and then it started to get lower from there. But what I found it kind of interesting is that and then Vincent covered this as well. So check his channel out in his video, and he goes in a lot more detail. But really, what they're talking about with the four-layer stack, especially when they're talking about the RGB tandem, and just want to make sure that we all on the same page. There's still a WOLED TV, and it's not something that we should be calling it RGB. So I just want to make sure that we all on the same page when it comes to this, because it's a four-layer stack. It's still OLED. So it's still, I mean, like I said, they did make some innovations on the LG side, but it's still a WOLED. Just want to make sure we all on the same page. And then also too on the S95F, it's QD-OLED technology, but it seemed like people are talking about this, and I just kind of want to. Some other creators mentioned it as well too, but I want to make sure that we all on the same page when it comes to specifically the technology is still WOLED. So all right, so since we got that out the way, but out the way is that when he talked about the new two stack layer, originally on the previous generation of OLED display by LG, they had a yellow layer, and now they separated the yellow layer from a green and then red. So now that since they changed that to green and red, they're able to get not only more improvements when it comes to brightness or HDR highlights, but they also are able to get more color volume compared to the previous generation of OLEDs, which is really good. So it did go up to 83%. I think it's 83.78, but don't quote me on that point part. But I know is around 83% from looking at Vincent's video as well too. And looking at this, they was able to get more performance, a lot more performance with going with this approach compared to the MLA, which is great. I think it's a win-win situation, especially for people who or still who haven't bought the G4 from last year and is thinking about getting an OLED TV. This is something that might be an option for them if they're thinking about getting a TV, and especially if you're a person who loves LG, this is a TV to get, especially the G5. But it's just a question is that we don't know about price since they not doing MLA this year with the G5, and then also the Panasonic as well too. The question is what about the price? Are we going to get a little bit lower price since MLA is a lot more costly, or is it going to be the same price that the G4 was from last year? So that's something that has been kind of interesting just to kind of like discuss as well too. Also in the article, they kind of talked about here the different white points, and just like I mentioned that he was able to get 4,000 nits at a 3% window, but they also was mentioning it as well too that with the full screen, excuse me, not the full screen, but at the peak white luminance, they was mentioning that it was around, I mean, full screen, excuse me, caught myself on that one. But when it was talking about the full screen luminance, that it did say it did jump from the previous generation of 250 nits to 400 nits was full screen brightness. That's what I found kind of interesting. But when it comes to color luminance, and this is what they have here is that I found it kind of interesting is that it's going to be 2100 nits compared to what it was last year. It was 1500 nits. So this is something that I found it really interesting, especially coming from LG because we've been talking about these incremental improvements, but I think they made a really big jump compared to previous gen with the panel, MLA technology. And so I find it kind of interesting that LG just keep on making strides when it comes to their technology. Now the question is that we got to see it in person, but looking at this article and then looking at the comparison too, and that's why I'm about to go ahead and bring that up as well too. And I'm gonna go ahead and slow this video up. Let's see if I can rewind this right quick. Uh, you do see a difference when it comes to both TVs. So let me go ahead and transition right here. But this looks like the latest panel, the fourth generation panel, and you about to see the comparison. Let me see if this come up, and then I will go ahead and pause this video, and then we could go ahead and talk about this a little bit further. But let me see here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I think it's a very good depiction right here. But looking at this differences between the fourth gen and third gen, yeah, you clearly see that there is some really huge improvements, especially looking at this technology. I'm excited for it, but it just the thing is that man, it's just gotta see it in person, and just like looking at this screen and looking at this video that was captured by flat panel HD is that Yeah, you can see a clear difference when it comes to picture quality between the latest fourth gen LG G5, and I'm assuming it's a G4. I want to say it's G4. Now they have an LCD right next to it, and I just find it kind of interesting that they have that. And it just shows that, especially when it comes to LCD TVs, especially when you're looking at darker content, they seem to shine a little bit better. Hold on for a minute. Shine a little bit better when it comes to the HDR impact, especially when it comes to highlights. Because with OLED, you got self-emissive on there, and you got LCD that's not. And it's like, especially when it comes to LCD TVs, that they try to make sure it doesn't bloom when it comes to darker scenes. And so, looking at the fourth gen OLED, and I don't know what TV it is next to it. I'm just assuming it maybe the Sony Bravia 9. This is just an assumption on there, but I know when Vincent was doing his test, it looked like it was comparing against the Bravia 9, it's showing how close it is when it comes to the HDR impact and the highlights and the brightness. So that's just my assumption. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like with the fourth gen OLED from LG displays, I don't know. I think it looks really promising and stuff. So let me know in the chat what you guys thoughts are, because man, this is like really good stuff that I see here. And let me go ahead and continue playing the video. But you can see here, going right here. Let me go ahead and pull this up again. It's just like LG is really doing their thing. Let me go ahead and make sure I got the chat together. And I want to give a shout out to everyone who is in the stream right now. And it's crazy to see. Let me see here. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the stream. So thank y'all for coming in. But yeah, let me know what you guys' thoughts are, especially when it comes to this. Let me see if I could go ahead and pull up some of these questions about LG's latest, I could say latest update with the WOLED. And just like I'm looking at it right now, oh, that's funny. It seems like we got a lot of people in here. Let me see here. Um, SD over here, I'm considering getting the S95F and stuff, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about that as well too. Um, they will do a price match. Okay, we're talking about price matches, and let me see here. You know what? That's a good question as well. He said, I wonder when we will finally get a 12-bit panel instead of these 10-bit with color improvements across the board. You know what? That's a very good question. We've been talking about 12-bit panels for a long time, and I don't know when are we ever going to do that. Let's see here. What other questions do we looking at here? Having to stop by the store after you work. It's a match. Okay. All right. It's not a lot of questions. Everybody's talking about QD-OLED. So that's pretty much what LG have in store right now. Let's go ahead and switch it to Samsung, because it seemed like Samsung is also doing the same thing as well too, which I find it kind of interesting. And then, oh yeah, whoever joined the chat, if you could do me a favor by hitting, go ahead and taking some of the poll questions. And so far, when I'm looking at right now, whoa, I'm kind of shocked about this. A lot of people, so we got 41% is going for LG displays, and then we got 24% is going for Samsung, and then we got a lot of people who are going for the contrast over brightness. And then we got 0% for brightness doesn't matter to me. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I threw that in there just because I just wanted to make a little bit of fun. But it seemed like we got a lot of LG people in in the stream, which is awesome. So I think it's a really good thing that what LG is doing. We'll see what happens, how it stacks up against the S95F. Now, I'm gonna say this, and I know a lot of people's probably gonna bash me on this and stuff like that. But when it comes to QD OLED technology, it's still when it comes to the color volume and stuff. It's still going to surpass what LG is doing. LG did make some really great improvements, but Samsung is, as well hasn't been a slouch in this area either, and they making their improvements as well. So, but it was nice to see when they do the comparisons or side by side comparison between both TVs to see who's going to come on at top of the displays. But let me go ahead and switch to Samsung, on the other hand, and let me go ahead and switch and transition to this. Yeah, so with Samsung, this article came out, this flat panel as well, flat panel HD. They also mentioned about 4,000 nits at 3% window. What I kind of find it kind of interesting is that I don't know if they have some moles in each company like LG has their own little people in Samsung area and vice versa. Samsung had their own little people. It seemed like both companies always compete around the same amount of nits, which I find it kind of interesting. And I don't know, I would be very curious to know like how they determine the 4,000 nits. Why did one company go for 5,000 nits, and then the other one went with a different amount when it comes to brightness. I just find it kind of interesting that both companies at the same time when their announcement they both doing 4,000 nits and stuff. That's just me just talking and rambling on, but I just find it kind of interesting that Samsung and LG is both coming out with the 4,000 nits display. But one thing about QD OLED and going back to the Samsung area, and SD already mentioned this as well too, is that I'm going to talk about this. The 83 inch, which is a very huge disappointment from Samsung that they didn't come out with the 83-inch QD OLED uh, display for this year TVs. And the other thing is that they're going to be using LG 4-layer stack on the S95F, the 83-inch version, and it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to stack up when it comes to, you know, LG side. So I want to see how Samsung is approaching this. And then the other issue too is I know I might be the minority in this one, but it's just like the whole matte finish. That's a whole nother thing. And I'm going to talk about it, and hopefully Samsung is hearing me, but they probably won't. But it's the matte finish. So those are kind of like one of the things I figure out that was kind of like a negative on their side. But that's that's just me. It's the 83 inch. That was a huge disappointment because they're using LG display for the 83 inch, and then also too it's a matte layer. So oh, let me go ahead and say what's going on to oh. Hey, how's it going, dudes? How's it going over there? Thanks for joining the stream. Um, but yeah, going back to the Samsung announcement, they got the 4,000 nits when it comes to 3% window, and then also they was talking about the brightness that they was able to achieve for this year display, and talking about the highest PPI when it comes to pixel per inch is 160, which is very very interesting as well. And then when it comes to the monitors, which I find it kind of interesting as well too. And I'm probably gonna pick up one of their monitors, gaming monitors this year. I just haven't decided which one I want to get, but they got the fastest at 500 hertz, depending on which specific model that you get. So it seemed like Samsung has been making some really good strides. But what I find it kind of also interesting as well too, not only just the 5,000, excuse me, not the 5,000, but the 4,000 nit brightness at the 3% windows at peak brightness, but also the full screen brightness as well has improved compared to last year. We had 300, and now we got here 440 nits, which is higher when it comes to what they claim, what LG is doing, because LG is doing 400 full field brightness, and then um, Samsung is doing at 440. So I just find that I don't know. I just feel like it's a win-win situation for all of us in 2025 who are looking to shop a TV for this year. But yeah, it's just like looking at both of these two TVs going neck and neck with each other. I'm kind of curious of how it's going to go against the Value Electronics side by side when they had their review and competition with each other. And then we got to think about Sony too, because we still don't have Sony announcement either, and we don't know where Sony is going to be leaning at. They might be going QD-OLED, but the rumor is they might be going WOLED. So I don't know which way they're gonna go. But looking at this at Samsung and LG, I mean they both going neck and neck with each other. And so it's just gonna be really interesting once these TVs are released and get reviewed and comparison between each other, which one is going to come up on top. But it's just nice seeing that technology is moving forward and we're not seeing those incremental increases like we have seen in the past. But looking at this, man, it just yeah, they're doing a good job too. So it's going to be interesting. I think it might just come down to preference when it comes to both TVs. I know LG is doing some stride, and same thing with Samsung is doing some good things too. And I don't know. I just can't say anything. I can't say anything bad between each manufacturer except for Samsung. I just the whole matte finish and stuff. But looking at this, it's just really good news. And in the show here, if you look a bit look at this, it shows that the comparison between the 2024 and 25 model, and you could definitely see the comparison between both TVs, and they both look good. But one thing I kind of wish that Samsung would do, and I don't know why they have this for the 2025 model, excuse me, 2025 model is that on the S95F, they will have the one connect box. And if you guys ever seen my review that I had on the S95C, is that whole one connect box I wasn't really liking. It's just because I was having a lot of issues on the gaming portion of it. And I think at the time, I was the only one that was talking about where I was having some major issues when it comes to flickering and when it comes to where the gaming portion will like turn the screen will turn black and then come back on. And those are kind of like the things I found it kind of interesting that years later people are start talking about it right now. But going back to the whole one connect box, I hope they make some improvement, but I'm not a huge fan of the one connect box. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um Also too, let me see here. They also talked about the monitors as well, which we already kind of like mentioned as well. And then I don't know. You know what? I should have done a poll about this. I'm kind of interested. Is anybody going to be picking up a gaming monitor? Because I am really considering it, getting a gaming monitor, and because the monitor I have right now, because I had the Odyssey G7, I got this in 2020, and it's really starting to show its age, and it's definitely needed an upgrade. But oh, what I find it kind of like this is going back to the whole WOLED and looking at the QD OLED, you can see looking at both sides that QD OLED when it comes to the color, it it produces more color than it does with a OLED, WRGB OLED. So, hmm, I don't know. Just my little 2 cents. But yeah, this is a really good article. I am gonna put a link to this and let's see what others, if y'all want to go ahead and read this more in depth. Let me go ahead and go back to the chat because it seemed like a lot of people are chiming in. And I want to make sure that I'm answering everybody's questions. Let me see here. And I think I got yeah, I think I got a lot of people going on here. Buddy, what's going on? I probably didn't say what's going on, but Buddy over here mentioned that he said I was looking to pick up the 42-inch QD OLED gaming monitor, but looks like they are focused on the 27-inch this year. Well, wait for more. They might have some more announcements coming soon. I know Samsung did the same thing last year. They showed a lot of their monitors, but then they ended up dropping some other monitors during the summertime, close to fall time, and they were just like something that they haven't announced at CES. So maybe they might do bigger sizes. So I probably say just go ahead and wait, buddy, before they go ahead and do that. Um, Let me see here. SD's talking about, he said, I could never step back when it comes to the color of the B9 was 80% color volume, and I was missing 91 from the OLED right away. Yeah, so that's kind of like another thing too. When I had the Bravia, well, I mean, going back to LG, and I'll talk about mini LED in a second. Going back to LG, for the latest display that they're coming out with is supposed to be 83%. So when it comes to that specifically, yeah, it's not 91% from QD OLED, but I like to see how LG is getting closer to what QD OLED is doing. I mean, they still got a ways to go, but who's to say what they may catch up next year. But to your point, SD, yeah, you're right. That's one thing that QD OLED has over LG, the WRGB OLED, is that when it comes to the color volume, is something that they do better at, and it just is a inherent when it comes to the technology. Let me see if I could catch up with the other questions going on. Oh yeah, go ahead. You know what? I'm about to go ahead and end the poll right now. Let me go ahead and do this right now. And yeah, I see that a lot of people are going for LG, which is good. And you can see right now, I don't know if people can see this in the chat, but it seemed like LG actually is pretty close. It's not like it's not like it's not like it was a huge margin, but yeah, LG still at top, going at 36%, and then followed by better contrast and brightness at 31%. So it doesn't have to be LG or Samsung. And then they got here Samsung at 28%. And then last thing is brightness, doesn't matter to me, and that's 3%. But I find it kind of interesting that we have a lot of LG people who are really stoked about the G5, and seeing that, yeah, I'm excited too. Especially when you got the 165 hertz display, especially for PC gamers. That's something that is also going to be kind of interesting. Samsung got the same thing as well with the S95D, 165 hertz. But it's just looking at what they have now. Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be some interesting competition, and then also Panasonic too, because I didn't even talk about Panasonic that much. But Panasonic is also using LG display, and looking at Panasonic is also doing their thing too. But the only issue that I have with Panasonic is the gaming area, where people are mentioning that it only does 144 hertz compared to LG is doing 165 in Samsung. So it's just interesting to see how that's going to stack up against the competition. But other than that, it seemed like Panasonic is going to hit a home run with their TVs this year, especially if they price it well. Let me see here. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out. Thank you everyone who joined the stream. Yeah, this is great. It's awesome. I really appreciate you guys doing that and joining the stream. I think I caught up with all the questions. Okay, I think Rock's let me see if I could pull your question up, Rock. Um let me see, Rock. I nope, So yeah, so BT 2020 is around 83%, and that's for LG display. And then we got here QD OLED is yeah, so in this instance, QD OLED is still around 91%. I think it's a little bit higher than that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what LG had from last year is around 78%. So they have made some improvements when it comes to the color area. But going against Samsung QD-OLED technology, that's something that LG still needs to work on. Now, when those TVs are released, and I know Vincent, and that's one thing about it. Vincent did a really good job when he was doing his comparison or doing his measurements. That when they had their um, displays that it was doing the comparison with is that they had their uh, Sony BVM monitor, and I mean, it looked like the G5 looked very close to it. And so that's supposed to have been its cream of the crop when it comes to the calibration portion of it. And I am interested to see when they go against each other who's going to come on top. But depending on what LG is going to price that TV, hopefully you don't price it a lot higher than Samsung. We'll see. We'll see. I think I caught up on that. Yeah, so okay, QD-OLED is around 93%. I thought it was around 91%, but I could be off on that. Um Looking at this, yeah, 19 brighter. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I think I got this. Yeah, so buddy over here said LG diehards are ready to start throwing some shade at Samsung diehard. You know what? This is all fun and games. It seems like it happens every year. LG, there's a lot of people who love LG and there's a lot of people who love Samsung. And I'm in the middle. I whatever pushed the technology further, I'm all for it. And seeing LG doing better with their displays, especially when it comes to technology, I think it's a huge improvement. But Samsung at the same time too, they've been cooking in the background and they've been trying to figure out they've been making improvements on their side too. They're not going to just going to sit on their hands and not just wait until LG take advantage and take more market from them. So both it seems like both companies know what they need to do when it comes to those upgrades and making sure that whoever's looking for a TV that they could come on their side and buy them and stuff. So let me see here. So what I do want to go ahead and do is talk about so I do have another topic, and then we could go ahead and talk about more about Samsung and LG. And this is, you know what, not a lot of people are talking about this, and I find it kind of interesting, but I wanted to bring this topic up, and we'll see how this goes. But Vincent kind of like said something in his video when he was doing the measurements with LG on the G5 or the latest four stack panel. Actually, excuse me, I take that back. It wasn't during that measurement. It was during the Hisense when you was looking at the ones on the 116-inch UX, and he was mentioning that specifically the Patonic MediaTek Patonic chip 800 is seems to have for that specific TV is going to have four HDMI 2.1 inputs. And looking at flat panel HD, and I also got this article as well, it seemed like all the 2025 TVs, which I'm really crossing my fingers on, seem they all going to be having HDMI 2.1 inputs. Excuse me, HDMI ports, which is going to be the greatest news ever. And the reason why I wanted to bring this article up is because Sony and Sony, TCL, Hisense, Panasonic, they all had the MediaTek chip where they only have two HDMI 2.1s, and depending on which TV brand you have, they had the eARC is either 2.0 or you may have an HDMI 2.1 using the same port as the eARC. And it's been a fiasco like almost every single year. And even including myself, I still had the Sony X95K, even like the Sony A90J. The biggest issues that I have with the HDMI 2.1 ports is that you don't have enough ports because if you have next gen consoles, PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, or if you have a PC that's a HDMI 2.1, those things you will have an issue with because either you had to get a switcher or you had to constantly keep on switching connections when it comes to uh switching between your consoles and PCs. And those are kind of like the things that have been really cumbersome. And especially for me, which I'm lucky I have an AV receiver to have an HDMI 2.1, but the issue is that I don't have full bandwidth. But using the ER port for the HDMI 2.1 has been great. But the issue that I had with the Sony TV specifically is that I had to constantly go into the HDMI settings, had to toggle between enhanced. People who own Sony TVs know exactly what I'm talking about. Is that they had to constantly had to change the settings between enhanced VRR or Dolby Vision, and those are kind of like the things that it's always been a disaster in my opinion because sometimes I constantly forget, like, oh yeah, now I got to switch the setting to the gaming mode, or I got to switch the settings to movie mode, or wherever the case may be, and those are kind of like the things that has always been having issues with. But now it seems like we finally might have all HDMI 2.1 ports, which is always a good thing. And so right now it seems like TCL, Hisense, and maybe Sony and Panasonic maybe going with the HDMI 2.1 on all four ports, which is awesome news to talk about. And I wanted to bring this article up is because we've been talking about this. I've been talking about this for a long time. That every time I do a review on the TV, I always talking about you only have two HDMI 2.1 ports, and you had the other two is 2.0. And the funny thing is now they have an HDMI 2.2 that's been announced, but we don't even have TVs that don't even have HDMI 2.1 ports fully utilized. So I find it kind of interesting that they're talking about HDMI 2.2, but then it's like you got TVs that doesn't have all ports as HDMI 2.1. Let me see here. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of like go through this because I thought it was kind of interesting, and I thought it would be a good article to kind of like talk about as well too. But yeah, it's just nice to see once we have more TVs being announced that you know is one of those things that is a nice upgrade, especially if it's implemented in all the TVs and stuff. I don't know how everyone feels about it, but I think it's good. It's a good deal. Let me get all right. Let me go ahead and get back to the chat. And just want to give a shout out to everyone who is in the stream right now. Thank y'all for everything. Um Criticizing the G3. I'm trying to catch, man, it's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the chat. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all in the chat because it's like, man, this is like the most I think I probably had in a long time. Um, Let me see here. Let me see if I could catch up with question. TV Master will push HDMI 2.2. You know what? They may. Let me bring this up. Let's see if I could bring this up. They may bring up a. They may be pushing the HDMI 2.2, but to be honest with you, we had HDMI 2.1 for I don't know how many years now. 7 years, maybe longer than that. And we still don't even have TVs that has all HDMI 2.1 ports. And you know what's even what makes it even more interesting is you don't even have AV receivers or people who are into home theater, especially when it comes to receivers, all the HDMI ports are HDMI 2.1, but they're not even full bandwidth. It's only at 40 gigs. They capped out at 40 gigs. They don't even have the 48 ones. So it's just the thing is now they're talking about HDMI 2.2, and I don't see the use for that specifically. I get it for when it comes to PC gaming, but I don't know. I just don't think it's a real need at the moment. I mean, I could be wrong. It's nice to see that that technology is progression, but it's just like the HDMI 2.2 ports. I mean, the HDMI 2.2 announcement. Like I said, it was. I'm not really all that excited about, but maybe there's might be more information in the future. I'm kind of curious of what other people feel about it. Rock City, yeah, you're absolutely right. I've been trying to figure out why is took so long for MediaTek or even a TV manufacturer who, they buy their chips from MediaTek to take them this long to come out with all HDMI 2.1 ports. It's very perplexing in my opinion. I don't know why and stuff. So, um, it's something that I'm glad they finally doing it, but we had to wait and see. I just thought it was interesting that Vincent mentioned on the 116-inch Hisense UX that they use in MediaTek 800. And then I'm looking at HD panel, flat panel HD. They also announced it seems like we might be getting all HDMI 2.1 ports, maybe all, or we might just get three. Even if we get three, I think it's a win situation because now we got an extra HDMI 2.1 port. You may want to plug up your Xbox Series X in one port and then use your PlayStation 5, or you might do a scenario where you may do your PC as well. You can use PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 5. But if you have an AV receiver, you can use that for the eARC. So it seemed like it's giving us more options, which is good. But you know what? I so I have a Yamaha A8 and A8A and specifically, and I have HDMI 2.1 ports in all of them, but it's only capped at 40 gigs. And so if this HDMI 2.2 come in there 2027 receivers, I don't know, man. I'm not ready for it because it's like then I have to upgrade everything, not including all my, yeah, not only just my wiring. I had to upgrade my receiver, TV. Yeah, I don't even want to think about this and stuff, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot of yeah, it's gonna be a lot of upgrades if HDMI 2.2 start to come out. Oh yeah, Plasma Tech, how's it going out there? Let me give him a shout out. He had a stream earlier today with Gaming Tech. FOMO was Stop the FOMO was on there too. So if you guys didn't get a chance to go ahead and take a look at the stream, check his channel out. And also he came out with a really good video the other day. And I'm gonna try so Plasma, if you get a chance, I'm probably gonna have to message you. I'm gonna try to get you on a stream one of these weeks. But yeah, he had a really good video where he was doing the LG reveal in more details. Check his video out. He was talking about more specifically about what Vincent, in which I talked about a little bit earlier in the stream, but he had a lot of details about the 165 hertz, especially when it comes to the gaming PC side. For me, I'm not a diehard PC gamer, but I play consoles, but I also build a lot of computers as well too. So I think this year, depending on, I know I'm probably not gonna get the 5090 from Nvidia because it seemed like I'm not gonna be sleeping outside of Micro Center, but eventually I do want to get a 5090 and then go ahead and probably build myself a PC on PC and see what we could do. But other than that, he had a really good video because he was just talking about specifically what we discussed earlier about LG advancements, but Samsung as well is like both of them are going neck and neck with each other and stuff. So yeah, find it kind of interesting. Find it kind of interesting. But anyway, let me go into the last topic because I'm not going to be doing the stream for this long, depending on people's questions. Let me see here. All right, this is the last topic, and I don't know if people will feel about this, but now we're talking about mini LED. And this is where I find it kind of interesting. I found this article, and I don't know if you, yeah, I think everyone can see my screen. But this came out back in December 16th, 2024. So a month ago, to be exact. So one thing I kind of wanted to go over is that we talked about Samsung, we talked about LG display, we talked about the HDMI ports, but I do want to like kind of end this with the whole TCL technology, and also with Hisense coming out with their UX TV with the RGB LCD mini LED TV, which is going to be very interesting on its own because it's supposed to be surpassing when it comes to color volume against the QD-OLED, and I think it's supposed to be going in 97% with BT 2020. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to compete or go against QD OLED. It's just the thing is that we already know it's going to be astronomically more expensive this year, but I'm just thinking in the future how that's going to go and how it's going to be trickling down to lower tier TVs. But going to the TCL portion of it, and I thought this article was pretty interesting is that they mentioned that they are going to kind of like the same approach of what Sony did with the Bravia 9. But one thing they kind of mentioned as well, and what's really caught my eye, is they talked about more of the uniformity. They're talking about the backlighting, how much it's improved, how they are able to put not only more zones in their backlighting system, but how the way they could control it. And it's kind of interesting. The reason why I'm bringing this article up is because Sony did the same thing last year with less zones, and Hisense and TCL had way more zones. But the Bravia 9 has done a better job as one of the best mini LED TVs that came out in 2024. But looking at this article from TCL that came out late last year, it seems like the improvements that they have here and I had to get this translated. It was going from Chinese to English. Is that they doing the same thing with the backlighting compared to Sony. And I just think this is very, very interesting, especially when I was looking at the screenshots or what they was doing in their presentation. And I think what really caught my eye with this is that hold on for a minute, where's that screenshot? Because I had it here. Let's see if I can get closer on this. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Do. You can see here, I mean, like I said, it's a presentation, but they are making strides. TCL is making a lot of strides when they're trying to push this mini LED technology. And the same thing with Hisense. They're doing the same thing as well. And I just find it kind of interesting that they've been going, they've been doing a good job and stuff. They've always been a budget friendly technology, especially for the consumers. But I think this year is going to be a little bit different where they're going to be really seems to be really competing against pushing the envelope when it comes to their technology. And I think it's kind of interesting. Just I wanted to bring this article up, but looking at here, um, what they're gonna do is that they got a whole new level of backlight technology, especially when it comes to the mini LED, and then everybody's talking about AI perspective. But looking at here, um, TCL might have something in the background that's cooking that might surprise everyone coming out in the next couple of months. I mean, we only got the announcement of two TVs. I think QM6, 6K, and then a QM7, and I don't I those seems to be really promising TVs, especially for the price that they're selling at. They haven't released all their other TVs, but it's gonna be interesting to see. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and get this. Yeah, he said, so this is a good question. So TCL Hyson did a great job of developing mini LEDs, mini LED LCD, and killed the competition price and performance. Is anyone thinking of getting a non-OLED panel and should get a TCL or a Hyson? I'll be honest with you. So with the upgrades that TCL and Hisense been doing, I want to see when those TVs come out. My only issue that I may have is the processor. And if they have a really good processor this year, then I might get one of those TVs and stuff. It's not going to be my primary use TV, but I want to go ahead and check the TV out and see how it performs. But I said, I never say never. It seemed like Hyson and TCL just like their presentation. They did a really good job. I think Hyson did have one of the best presentations at CES, especially with their RGB mini LED LCD TV this year, and was just supposed to be coming out this year, and everybody seemed to be on prototype mode. But Samsung and LG also did a they did a good presentation as well too. But if you have people who are still on the fence and not getting OLED, the mini LED seems to be doing a good job as well too. All right, let me see here. And yo, everybody's still talking about LG and Samsung. So I so I'm I'm not gonna say your name because I may say I might say something else. But looking at QD-OLED still beats Four Stacks Tandem RGB. Yeah. I will say that technology QD-OLED is still ahead of WRGB OLED technology. I know a lot of people are may say otherwise, but QD OLED is still seems to be on top when it comes to technology wise. But LG is making really good strides, but it's not enough at the moment to beat QD OLED and stuff. So I don't know. We gotta wait and see until both TVs come out, and I could be totally wrong about that. And that's something right here. And this is something that I think everyone can see right now. You can see LG demo at CES is hold on for a second. I think I'm losing my why is excuse me. I think it transitioned. But what LG is doing with their display, and I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm rooting for both companies, but I QD OLED out, and I'm studying right now. I will say that Samsung it may come up on top, especially being the QD OLED display. But the thing is that when it comes to sales wise, I think LG is gonna do a little bit better when it comes to selling their TVs, just because that a lot of people don't like the matte finish. And then also, the other issue is that Samsung didn't come out with the 83-inch version of QD OLED. So that's going to be something to kind of like, I find it kind of interesting. All right, let me see here. Let me see if I can catch up with a lot of people. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to everyone who's in the chat. 31 people is in the chat. So I want to say thank y'all for joining in. Um, I did have a poll a little bit earlier today talking about LG detail their reveal and details that Vincent from HGTV Test was able to do, and then also Samsung as well when it comes to 4,000 nits. So I do want to give a shout out to everyone there. Um, Trying to see if I could catch up with the chat, see if there's any specific questions. But we could go on for a couple more minutes, and I want to see if anybody have any questions for me specifically. Let me see here. Oh, everybody's talking about yeah, plasma. Good, yeah. Good luck if we're getting he's going to get the Nvidia 5090. I know we talk about TVs a lot of time, most of the time, but when it comes to PC gaming, especially Nvidia, they just announced their new GPU. I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to stack up against the 4090, especially when it comes to they coming out with software and stuff. So I think you may see a performance boost, but you gotta wait and see until the reviews come out. So I know Plasma is gonna be picking that up. Let me see here. Yeah, it's not that many questions on here. Yes, if anyone could do me a favor, if y'all could hit that like button as well and that subscribe button, I greatly appreciate everyone joining the chat on here. Let me see here. No, right now. Yeah, so far this is the only topics that I have at the moment and stuff. Besides that, Sony, we talked about Sony a lot, and so far we just speculating on rumors. Hopefully Sony will start making their announcement of TVs. The question is that, and we kind of like talked about this before, but I don't know if Sony is going to be coming out with their successor to the A95L, if it's going to be QD-OLED technology, or they're going to be using the WRGB OLED display from LG. That may be something that they might be having it in the future, but I'm curious to see. The question is that if Sony doesn't do QD OLED for their new models for this year, then the question is, and it's something I could talk about in a future video, is that what are they gonna do? What's going to happen to QD-OLED technology and stuff? Is Samsung is going to be the only one who's going to be using it? Because it seems like not a lot of well, it's no TV manufacturer that uses it except for Sony. And it seemed like seemed like they got a stronghold when it comes to Panasonic. Sony used some of their WOLED displays, and LG of course used theirs. So you got three manufacturers that use their WOLED display, and you got Samsung is might be the only one. So I think that's going to be kind of interesting to see how that pans out. I hope it's not true. I hope Sony does come out with a QD OLED TV for this year. But if not, I don't know what to say. Oh man, what is this? Okay, so I'll see. Okay, let me see. Oh, I do got another question. Let me see if I can pull this up right quick. He said, Sony, like Panasonic, wanted the glossy panel. They won't get that from Samsung this year. So maybe A95 successor may go with the four stack. Yeah, I think I don't think it has anything to do with the glossy. Excuse me, the matte or versus the glossy type panel. I think there's something else in the background that LG was probably able to convince Sony, and probably Sony found something when it comes to technology wise they see that they able to do with their new TVs, but we don't know until they make the official announcement. I'm just kind of like speculating here, but and don't take this with a grain of salt and stuff, but I don't know. It just seems like LG maybe LG is selling their displays at a lot cheaper price
compared to what Samsung is offering for the QD-OLED, or maybe just the implementation of their technology compared to what LG is doing. So it could be numerous factors. That's just me just speculating. I'm not saying it's true or not, but I just kind of find it kind of interesting that LG is able to convince Panasonic to still use their displays, and Sony still use LG displays, and they might be continuing using it for this year. And Samsung has seemed like it might be the only manufacturer that use their technology. Samsung displays uses Samsung Electronics uses Samsung displays. I do believe that the QD OLED technology is superior than W OLED TVs, but I mean displays, but I don't know. It's just interesting that LG is able to have so much backing from other manufacturers. Let me see here. So Bravia 9 this year might be the fourth stack, but Brother of Year 10 is, I believe, will be equivalent to the 95. So yeah, we could go ahead and talk about Sony a little bit more. Sony Mini LED TVs, and I think I have. Let me see here. Let's see if I can pull this up right now. And let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, I don't think I can, but yeah, I think I can. Okay, no, okay, yeah, I can make it. So I could bring up this. I think you guys can see this on the screen. Oh, my camera just went off. So you may see my display, so I'm gonna have to switch it right quick. Give me a second. I'm gonna have to switch. My camera just overheated, so give me a second. I'm about to switch to my uh, no, not this. Excuse me. Yeah, you're gonna have to see me on the laptop. So I had to switch. Yeah, my camera just overheated. So going back to here. Oh, there's a lot of people on here. Yeah, I'm trying to check the chat right now. But yeah, so if you guys remember, if you guys remember the stream before, and I bring this up right now. This is the rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying it is what it is, but if you look at here specifically, and I think you can see my mouse or cursor. Uh, at the very top, you do see that the Bravia 10 is going to be their kind of like flagship, but you only could get it at 85 inch and 98 inch. And I'm not quite sure what Sony is going to do with that. With Hisense coming out with the RGB mini LED technology, they're going to be one of the first TV manufacturers. I wonder if Sony already kind of knew about that in the background, and they might be implementing something similar to that. And I'm just speculating right there. Uh, who's to say? But looking at this is just like I'm interested to see if these rumors are true. And then if you look at the Bravia 9, and I know a lot of people are getting a little bit upset about Bravia 9 is a mini LED TV, and they got here OLED, and they got mini LED. How can you differentiate? Like I said, it's just speculation. They may have a different name for it, equivalent to it. But let's just say it's true. If it's true with this, you do see a WOLED and then you see MLA. I wonder if maybe there might be some discussions with LG Display and Sony was able to take the MLA technology and seeing if they could probably implement it in their TV and is probably able to produce something really nice for their TVs for 2025. But who's to say? But looking at the Bravia 9 for the mini LED TV portion of it, they may do a continuation of what they did from last year and just move it over this year, or they probably might do an upgrade or do some update to that existing TV. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Yes, a lot of people are going back and forth. But then you know what? Esty, you do make a good point. I don't know. I really hope this is not the naming convention, and I really hope what I'm showing right now is not 100% true because it's just like the whole naming, trying to figure out if you got a OLED or a mini LED is going to be a disaster. But it just like knowing Sony, I wanted to put it past Sony because I think Sony would do something like this, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I am curious about the Bravia 10, and I want to see what they do with that technology, especially with that back panel. And looking at the Bravia 8, I mean, Bravia already knew about it, but yeah, it just seemed like from this screen and from what I'm looking at here, you don't see any type of QD OLED at all, which is yeah. Um, that's kind of like something that is a huge blow for Samsung displays, and I don't know, maybe it's different. But all right, let me go ahead and see if I can look at the chat right now. Economy is right now. Let me see if I can pull up some questions. Yeah, just gonna be on for a couple more minutes. Uh yeah, so that's kind of like another thing too. Sony processor is one of the best out there. I would like to see them up from the XR processor, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So, but I do they have made some upgrades over the past couple of years. And seeing how Sony has a record, it has one of the best processors, especially what they could do with mini LED. I'm kind of curious to see what they could do. Let's see if there's any other questions. Sony doesn't have QD OLED. Feels like so. There's another question. If Sony doesn't have the QD OLED, I feel like it's going to be 2024 all over again, where we still have a filler year of TVs. So you know what's kind of interesting about that? So the A95L has been out for since 2023. Well, late 2023. So it's been over 2 years. Yeah, it's been over 2 years now. Um, the price of the A95L, I think it's still going for the same price. Not 100% sure, but and this is kind of like another thing. I think it's kind of like a rumor. And this rumor may be true that Sony is not implementing QD OLED. A95L. I'm looking at it right now. I'm about to bring this up on the screen. Yeah, so I'm on Best Buy right now. So let me go ahead and show this. Um, and Mac OS. And let me transition. And I got the give me a second. I'm about to yeah, I think you see it right now. So for a 65-inch A90L, they only discounted $500. But if you're looking at the 77-inch, yeah, I think everyone can see my screen. It's going for $4,800. Not much of a discount, but yeah, this is why I'm thinking that this rumors may be true that I don't know if Sony's going to be coming out with a QD OLED this year, and this is why we seeing the price of the A95L still at a very very high price. They discounted a little bit, but if it's true and people who do have the A95L, I say keep that TV, or you could definitely sell it for a good price. And just looking at this, it's just like, whoa, yeah. So yeah, I just find it kind of Interesting. Let me go into the Bravia 9. Yeah, Bravia 9. Yeah, that's another TV. So that's one thing about Sony. Sony haven't been doing really good when it comes to discounting their TVs. So like the 65 and 77 inch is not really a good discount. $4,000 for an 85 inch. That's better when it comes to the pricing. It's not great. I think it should be around the low threes for an 85 inch. The only reason I'm saying that is because you could get a TCL. And I know it's not apples for apples, but looking at a TCL QM8, let's see if this comes up. Come on. Oh wow, they went up on their price. Oh, you know what's kind of funny, everyone? So if y'all ever looked at my last video, the QM8 was going at $4,000 and now went back up to $6,000. So you know what? I'm going to bring that video up. Give me just a second, everyone. And let's see. Just give me a second while I pull this video up. Cause I think I want to show you guys this video. Where's my Best Buy? And yep, let me go ahead and pull this video up. So I'm about to go ahead and show you guys this video of when I was looking at here, Best Buy. Let me go and transition. So this is me at Best Buy. I'll go ahead and put this. And shout out to everyone who is in the stream right now. We got 34 people in the chat right now. So this is me at Best Buy, and I think yeah, the video is working right now. But you remember I just showed the TCL pricing was at $6,000. So last week the 98 inch was going for $4,000, and it just went right back up in pricing. But looking at this TV right now, and sorry, it's my little video. Check that video if you get a chance. This TV is crazy. I mean, this is a 98 inch. If anyone is curious, it's a 98 inch QM8, and this TV is amazing. And for the price it was going for $4,000. But I did review the 65 inch. I thought the 65 inch was good. I didn't think it was great, but for the price of it, it was pretty good. I think it was going at 1,000 at the time. But the only issue that you would have with the QM8 is a black crush, and I mentioned that before. And Vincent as well has mentioned it in the streams. That TV had the issue when it comes to black crush, especially when it comes to looking at darker content, and that's something I think TCL will have that hopefully fixed for this year, especially with their technology and upgrade. But the price, that's kind of like where I really want to kind of drive is that it's not blooming. It's a lot to do with the camera that I was using. But looking at this TV for 98 inch going for $4,000 at the time, it's going for 6,000 right now. But I say wait a couple weeks, and yeah, it should go back down to around the 3,000 mark. But that's a really good TV to go for. But I do want to kind of like cover too. Actually, as a more, I'm going to fast forward this a little bit. This is LG, and in the middle is the G4, and at the top right you got the C4, and then you got the bottom right the C4. So you got the 77, 65, and then you got the B4 at the top left, and then you got the B4 at the bottom left. So looking at both of those TV, and then you got the G4 in the middle. So I'm kind of curious of what they're gonna do with the G5, and I'm actually kind of really wondering about the whole C5 and what they're gonna do with that TV. I know it's supposed to be brighter as well too. I'm kind of curious. I wonder if it's going to get as bright as a G4. The C5 is going to be as bright as this G4 from last year. I'm kind of curious about that because that's more of the consumer friendly TV. But LG is I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what they're gonna do. But I felt like the 83-inch version of the G4, I think it should be a little bit cheaper compared to what they were selling it for. But you do get a discount on the soundbar if anybody is curious about that. Let me see. Let me go ahead and make sure I'm looking at the questions right now. Oh yeah, I got a lot of people in the chat right now. Yeah, shout out to 35 people in the chat. Man, I appreciate everyone joining. Let me go ahead and go back to this. But what I want to do is I want to kind of like show Samsung, and this is going to be controversial, and I know it's going to be controversial, but check this video out if you can. I do have that in my channel. And I paused it right here for a reason. This glossy screen, I mean this matte finish. This is kind of like I get that you're supposed to be having a glare free 2.0 for coming out, and it's supposed to fix a lot of issues. But this is kind of like one of the reasons why I had issue with it. There it is. That's a good screen. That's a good shot. This is one of the reasons why I was having issues with the S95C. And I know the excuse me, not the S95C, the S95D. Sorry about that. The S95D. I was having issue with the S95D is because of the matte finish. And I know a lot of people who bought that TV love that TV, and I think it's a great TV, great technology. I'm coming from my personal use case scenario, and I know how my living room is set up. I know if I would have bought this TV to replace my Sony A9F, and I have a lot of windows, and I've seen the reflection of the screen, I'll be really, really, really disappointed. And just the thing is that I know some people don't have a preference when it comes to matte finishes, but I could see it, and this is showing that the colors looks kind of weird when it comes to watching this TV. And when I was looking at this TV and recording this at Best Buy specifically, you could see the differences between the S95D at the top, and then at the bottom is the S90D on here, and that's something that I just like. Uh, yeah, it. I don't know. I'm not really stoked. I wasn't really stoked what Samsung has announced with their glare free 2.0. Like I could be just totally wrong about this, but I know when I went to Best Buy last week and took a look at this and I started recording this, I had to record this from, and like I said, this is the extreme angles. But some people had some setups where they had TVs above their fireplace, which is not the best viewing angles, but I'm in one of those type of scenarios where I have a TV above the fireplace because I had my house built, and that's something that the builder has done. And it seems like that's the norm with a lot of things. But looking at this, well, you can't. Yeah, you can see my mouse on the screen. Looking at this S95D compared to S90D, I just prefer the glossy screen. I just feel like the colors look better, and the blacks look better when it comes to that technology. You can see I'm kind of like touching it, and looking at this, but I don't know. I just felt I just I don't I wish they Samsung just gave us the option that you could pick between glossy or matte finish. And it's just like I don't want them to be pushing the whole matte down our throats. And I just gonna have to wait and see when the TV comes out. I'm not gonna go into too much. I'm not gonna go on a rant with the S95D and the S95F that's gonna be coming out this year, but it's just this whole glare-free technology. I just kind of wish that they would have just did the whole glossy finish. So that's just me. That's just me. But I do want to kind of like talk about AK a little bit. Um, and that's something that I didn't even bring up as a topic. That's kind of crazy. But when it comes to, and this is where I'm gonna kind of like pause it right here, specifically. When it comes to AK, I really would like to see AK starting to come back, but we just need more content for AK, and then and you don't have a lot of manufacturers that does AK. I think TCL is supposed to be coming out with something. Samsung is still doing their support with their. Sorry, I had to pause. So look at the S9. I'm sorry. I'll go back to the AK topic, but this is kind of like one of the reasons why it's going back on my little rant. The S95D is just the whole glossy screen. So I just had to throw that out there. But going back to the AK topic, um, it's just so expensive to make. And let me go ahead and pull this up. He says, where Samsung made the S95F a glossy screen with the deep blacks, no one would be thinking about buying any other TV from LG or whatever. And it's true. And the reason why, if anyone want to go ahead and check this video out, it is on my channel, so feel free to take a look at it. And this is I've been taking this angle views. I was recording it from different angles just to give people an idea. I get that Best Buy have some really bright lights with the screen, but it's just like looking at the glossy finish. I mean the matte finish compared to glossy is just I just don't think it was a good move on Samsung part. But going back to the AK topic, I really hope that more manufacturers come out with AK television. And the reason I'm bringing this topic up is kind of like with new GPUs that's coming out from Nvidia and AMD, and then also PlayStation 5 Pro has some games as you could play in 8K. I think in the future, 2027, I think you're gonna see a lot more 8K content maybe coming out, but it just need more support, especially when you have HDMI 2.2 making their announcements as well too. I I just hope TVs manufacturer will start doing more 8K instead of just Samsung. Hopefully TCL and Hisense and Sony does something. I hope Sony bring back their Z series, but I don't know. We'll see. Um. All right. Let me check the chat. A lot of people talking right now. Oh man, we got. Yeah, I just want to give everyone a shout out. Thank you for kicking it with me and just talking about TVs, because man, I know when I talk about this to my other friends, they just look at me like crazy. But yeah, I also looked at the Sony as well too. So at the bottom you look at the Bravia 7, then you look at the A90L TV. Those TVs are pretty decent. I do want to see what the Bravia 9 is going to Bravia 9, if they're going to do a continuation or do an upgrade to the Bravia 9. I said this before. I think the Bravia 9 is one of the best mini LED TVs, especially if I'm looking at the Bravia 9 in the middle. And I think you see my mouse compared to the A95L. The A95L is, by all means, is the best TV, hands down. But I'm just looking at the Bravia 9. It's just like Sony has did a really good job with that TV. It's just the only issue with Sony is the pricing of the TV. If it was more competitive, I think you have a lot more people will be adopting this TV, but we'll wait and see to see what they're gonna make their announcement. But looking at the Bravia 9, I really like that TV. I think they did I think Sony did a really good job, especially when it comes to having less zones compared to TCL and Hyson. It's just like when it came to the black levels, I know people was talking about blooming. I really didn't see that much blooming when I was reviewing the 75-inch version of the Bravia 9, but it's just like looking at what Sony has implemented with that TV, I think they just did a really good job overall. All right, let me go ahead and check the chat. Yeah, that's one thing about it. Let me see if I can. Yeah, Gino, you're right about that. That's another thing that Samsung needs to do a better job with is the whole box. I gave my little soapbox about that too. Um, I mean, maybe the One Connect box might be better this year, but I know I had issues when I was gaming on it, where the connection was cutting out. Especially if you hook it up to an AV receiver, I had so many issues with that TV. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But thanks for commenting on that. But let me see here. He said I just purchased a 77-inch LG G3. Yeah, so the G3, I'm kind of curious, Gino. I wonder how much you got the G3 for. Looked like a good TV. Well, that TV came out a couple years ago. So, let me see if I catch up with the chat. Hope Sony would come out with a. He said, okay. Appreciate it, Alfred, for commenting. He said, I hope that Sony will come out with a successor to the A95L. Any support with HDR10 and Dolby Vision. So, you know, you brought up a you brought up another good point, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull this article out. I was gonna talk about this as a topic, but I wasn't 100% sure if I was gonna bring this up or not. But I do want to pause this right here. Uh Before going ahead go into the topic of the HDR10 plus and Dolby Vision support. The reason why I'm pausing on this is that when it comes to so right here, you probably can't see my cursor that well. Yeah, you can probably see it now. So this is the Bravia 7 right here. And oops. Yeah, this is the Bravia 7 right here. I'm gonna see if my mouse. Yeah, come. There's a Bravia 7 and above is the A90L, and then you see the Bravia 9 in the middle. So I've been having some comments about, the Bravia. I don't see that much difference between the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 9. And I said this in my video before. I I I get that the Bravia 9 is expensive, but I'm looking at the Bravia 7 and looking at those comparison, those side by side comparison. I really don't see how people can say how the Bravia 7 is very similar to the Bravia 9 when I'm looking at both these two TVs side by side. That's just kind of like my assessment and my viewing when I'm viewing this TV. Now granted, Best Buy is having these TV settings on Vivid. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is blown out. I know when you take these TVs and calibrate them, I mean, change the picture settings and so forth. But in particular, when I'm looking at the Bravia 7 right here, let me see my mouse cursor right here compared to the Bravia 9, it it's really no comparison in my mind. So, I mean, let me know what the chat feels about it. I just oh no, I get a lot of I get a lot of comments. When I was doing a review on the Bravia 9, I got a lot of comments of people talking about the Bravia 7 is so close to the Bravia 9. It's just the thing is I don't know why Sony is charging this price of something astronomical, but when I'm looking at this when I'm looking at these TVs at Best Buy, and I said this before, I know they got the picture settings on blast, on vivid mode, and I'm looking at both of these TVs. Look at all these TVs. I'm not talking about OLED because the A95L is the best TV out of all of them, and the Bravia 8 is a really good TV as well too. I think Sony did a good job with both of those TVs. But the Bravia 9 going against the Bravia 7 and the A90L, I, it, it's no competition. I don't know why we had these type of discussions, but if you're talking about price wise and you're trying to save some money, yeah, the Bravia 7 is a very good price, but don't say that it's comparable to a Bravia 9 because it's not. Just want to throw that out there. Just want to say that. I think the Bravia 7 is a decent TV. I think the X90L is a decent TV as well too, but I don't want people to get the notion that it's very close to the Bravia 9. It's not. When it comes to quality, the Bravia 9 does a better job. End discussion. Period. All right. Now I want to go back to the topic of. Let me see if I can bring that topic up once again. Yeah, Alfred, I do want to bring your topic up specifically about HDR10. And let me go ahead and I'm going to bring this article up. Mm. Give me a second. EP over here, you see, I said, I have the 90, I have the X90L, and I would not choose the Bravia 9 over the X90L. Really? I'm kind of interested to know your take on that. I think the X90L is a okay. I think it's a good TV, but the Bravia 9 is a great TV. So that's just my opinion. But going back to Alfred's question, and nobody haven't talked about this, but I thought it was kind of like an interesting article. But Disney Plus is going to start supporting HDR10 plus in the future. I don't know if this going to be rolling out, when it's going to be rolling out specifically, but I thought this was I thought it was an interesting article, and the reason why I'm saying it's interesting is because we talked about Dolby Vision. A lot of people buy a TV because of Dolby Vision, but now we're seeing more streaming services are supporting HDR10 plus, and people who are getting a Samsung TV like a S95F, yeah, S95F specifically, or S90F, or any Samsung TVs, that TVs in general. Samsung doesn't support Dolby Vision, but they do support HDR10 plus, and I think it's a really good option. And I really think it's a good move that Disney Plus is doing this. They implemented HDR10 plus on top of their Dolby Vision because it gives the users the option to choose between Dolby Vision and HDR10 plus, and I don't think they should have to be forced to have one format compared to the other one. So I really think it was a good move, and I think Disney Plus is not the only one that does this. Apple, yeah, I believe Apple TV as well has the option, has the Dolby Vision and HDR10 plus, and certain movies as well too support HDR10 plus. And I think Amazon is starting to roll that out as well too. But I find it kind of interesting that a lot more streaming services are supporting HDR10 plus, where at the time it was only nothing but Dolby Vision, and if you don't have Dolby Vision, nobody don't want to touch it. But now we're starting to see a little bit of a shift between manufacturers now, because you have TCL who supports HDR10 plus, and you have Hisense as well that support HDR10 plus, and don't forget Panasonic, they also support HDR10 plus. So the only other manufacturer that doesn't support HDR10 plus is Sony and LG. And so I going back to your question, Alfred, about HDR10 plus. I would like to see Sony support HDR10 plus as well, just to give us a flexibility option of it. Gonna have to wait and see. It all comes down to the demand of how many people who actually ask for HDR10 plus, and we just have to go from there. But I thought this article was really cool, the show, because s- Disney. When I saw this announcement, I wanted to bring this up because not a lot of people talk about, the formats and stuff that much, and I wanted to bring this up in the stream because it's great. It's great that people have options because people who have a Samsung TV in particular, like the S95D or the S95C or whatever Samsung TVs that they have, they only could play HDR10 when it comes to watching Disney content, and it just I think it's a welcome feature to have that. Let me see here. Let me go ahead. Yeah, so so Prime Video forces you to do Dolby Vision. So yes, they do, but I do have a workaround. And since we got here, I could talk about this for a second. Let me see how many people are in the chat. Oh man, we got 38 people in the chat. Appreciate you guys in the chat. It's awesome that y'all still kicking it with me. 38 people in the chat. But yeah, let me go ahead and give you guys a hack if you guys don't want to use Dolby Vision. And the hack is that if anyone who doesn't want to use Dolby Vision, get an external streaming device like an Apple TV or Nvidia Shield. They still sell Nvidia Shields. Yeah, get an Nvidia Shield or you get the Google TV dongle as well, or they just call it Google TV, and you have the option to take switch off the Dolby Vision portion of it. Well, I have the option to take off the Dolby Vision portion of it, and the way to do that is that for Apple TV specifically, and this is where I'm talking about Apple TV specifically. There's a setting in there in the picture settings where you can only do HDR10, and you can also do it on your Sony TV as well, where you go to HDMI input and you can force it to not accept Dolby Vision. So you switch from enhanced Dolby Vision to enhanced gaming, and you don't get Dolby Vision. So that's kind of like my hack. If people who don't want to watch content in Dolby Vision, get a external streaming device like an Apple TV specifically. Try that out, hook that up to your TV, and that's kind of like your workaround so you don't watch Dolby Vision content. I'm not saying Dolby Vision is terrible by any means. I just noticed that unless you don't have it calibrated, it might be some picture differences when it comes to the picture quality that I noticed on my Sony X95K and A90J, where I noticed that some of the colors are off when I'm watching Dolby Vision. And I have more flexibility when I'm watching HDR10 when it comes to switching the picture settings. But that's just me. Let me see here. But that's kind of like my hack. That's up to you guys. I know a lot of people who like to use the internal TV apps because they feel like it's better, but I like to use the external streaming apps because I rather have the streaming devices do all the work instead of having the TV use all this processing for the streaming apps, internal streaming apps. And it's like sometimes you have a little bit of degrade in picture quality wise, and then you force to use Dolby Vision where some people don't want to watch Dolby Vision. So those are kind of like some of the things why I use Apple TV, on all my devices and stuff. So let me see here. So Lisa over here, she got the A95K and the Apple TV 4K. Yep, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. And then yeah, you should have options. I totally agree. Yeah, you can't have just one company doing everything and then say I pay extra for ad free too. Yeah, that's a different topic about the whole streaming stuff. So, um, yeah, hopefully they start adjusting the prices, but I do have some streaming services where I don't pay ads on it. All right, man, it is. Let me look at the chat. Let's see if I can answer any more questions. Um, I think I caught up with everything. Okay. All right. If anyone have any questions, oh, you know what? Someone did ask me a question. Okay, give me a second while I scroll up a little bit. And I think I just passed the question, so let's see if I could capture all the questions. And you said this is no, this is not the question I'm trying to pull up, so apologize for that. It was one of your questions about Bravia 9 and blooming. Um, let's see here. Bravia 9 and blooming. Let me see here. I think I missed your question. Okay. Yeah, so on the question was that did you see blooming when it comes to Bravia 9? Yes, I did see blooming on the Bravia 9. You do see it. And it wasn't something that I don't know, from my opinion, it's definitely when I'm comparing it between the X95K, which the TV I have, the Bravia 9 does a way better job than the S95K when it comes to blooming. And but it's not as bad as you think it is. TCL QM8 does a better job in the blooming department when I had that TV. But the issue with the QM8 specifically is that when they control their blooming, they start to crush a lot of their blacks. Whereas the Bravia 9 didn't do that. That's when I had the TV. I don't know if they did some firmware updates and maybe they may have changed that with the picture in particular. But from my understanding is that they never had an issue. They have an issue when it comes to Black Crush, but the thing is that there's a trade-off when it comes to blooming. Let me see if anybody else in the chat have any other questions. All right, SD say he got an idea for a poll. He says, I got an idea for an next poll. So what category do you value the most after contrast? Brightness, color, processing, gaming features as choices. You know what? That's a very good idea. You know what? I'm going to take a screenshot, SD. I'm going to go. It takes a while just for me to type that up in YouTube. So I'll do that for next one, for the next poll. But someone did ask me a question. He said, I'm not sure about other apps, but I heard that Prime Video has a Hollywood feature, which is true to director's vision. Not sure if it's specific to a TV brand. So I know Sony has on this. I believe Sony. Yeah, Sony has their calibrated mode. Because when I had the Bravia 9 during that time, they had a Amazon calibrated mode. It was okay. It was decent. It's just like the Netflix calibration mode, calibrated mode. You have to use the TV internal apps. You can't use it on an external streaming device because it doesn't work. And the reason being is because it's catered towards the TV specifically. I to be honest with you, I thought it was just okay. I didn't think it was something that was great. It's a nice feature to have, but for me, in my picture, how the way I like to look at picture, I like my picture to be different from their calibrated settings. Let me see. Is there any other questions? Heard that Panasonic and Sony has Prime Video Hollywood features. Let me see here. Signing out for calls. You should have options. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm about to go ahead and wrap this up. We've been on here for a while and stuff. So I want to actually, I do want to answer this question. He said, "Are you thinking about upgrading your home theater speakers?" So, that's a good question. I haven't talked about speakers that much, but I had the KEF R11s and I had the KEF R6 Metas, and I haven't really talked about it on the stream that much. I into audio a lot. Am I gonna upgrade? No, I'm not gonna upgrade my speakers anytime soon, just because I still have a lot of things I still want to do in the audio part. I do want to get an amplifier, external amplifier, and because I know I could get more juice out of my R11s. And I have listened to some other speakers as well, and I still like my KEF's speakers. So I'm not planning on switching them out anytime soon. But yeah, that's a very good question. All right, well, I'm about to go ahead and wrap that up. So if anyone could do me a favor by hitting that like button and that subscribe button, I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I want to say thank you guys again. Thank you everyone for coming to this stream, just kicking it with me and stuff. That really means a lot to me. And I'm gonna try to put some. I'm gonna try to put out a video, like Monday, sometime soon. And I'm gonna be talking about more about the LG and Samsung TVs, and so stay tuned for that. But other than that, I appreciate everyone for stopping by in the chat. And until next time, I see everyone in the next video. All right, take care. Bye.